The government has lifted the ban on exports of renewable energy. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli said this is part of a policy review to enable debottlenecking of the growth in the energy industry. He said the cross-border sale will be conducted via an electricity exchange system to be set up by the government. Putrajaya is also committed to introducing more renewable energy programs based on a willing buyer, willing seller basis to encourage private sector participation. Meanwhile, Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad, who helms the Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change portfolio, said the government is also raising its 2050 renewable generation capacity target to 70% of the nation's total from its previous target of 40%. This means that Malaysia will essentially need to more than double its future renewable energy installation in the period compared with previous projections. At the moment, 20% of electricity generated in Malaysia comes from renewable energy sources such as solar and hydro. Glove maker Hartalega Holdings sank into the red in FY 2023, dragged by a 347 million ringgit one-off impairment loss from the decommissioning of its Bestari Jaya production facility. It booked a net loss of 218.04 million ringgit versus a net profit of 3.23 billion ringgit a year earlier. It was also weighed down by a 69.48% fall in full-year revenue to 2.41 billion ringgit on lower average selling price and sales volume amid the continued oversupply and supply chain inventory adjustments. Barring the impairment loss, full-year earnings total 126 million ringgit. For the fourth quarter of FY 2023, Hartalega posted a net loss of 302.76 million ringgit versus 198.15 million ringgit a year ago, while revenue tumbled 46.76% to 515.74 million ringgit from 968.69 million ringgit a year prior. Its CEO Kwan Moon Leong highlighted the group's 5-year strategic plan to ensure long-term business sustainability and said consolidating its operations at the NGC in Sepang will be good for the group. Hartalega shares were 20.86% higher at 2.26 ringgit, giving the group a market capitalization of 7.75 billion ringgit. Carlsberg Brewery Malaysia booked a 7.15% drop in its first quarter FY 2023 net profit to 85.04 million ringgit due to the early timing and shorter sales period for this year's Chinese New Year celebrations, coupled with higher input costs and marketing expenses. The brewer announced a first interim dividend of 21 cents per share as opposed to 22 cents in the same quarter last year. Quarterly revenue saw an uptick of 0.97% to 660.2 million ringgit, thanks to the effects of its price adjustment. Carlsberg Managing Director Stefano Clini said in a statement that the group's first quarter business was hurt by lower consumption due to increasing concerns of elevated living costs amid sluggish economic growth forecasts in Malaysia and Singapore. It also observed a shift in consumer spending from domestic consumption to international travel. Carlsberg shares closed unchanged at 21 ringgit 52 today, giving the group a market capitalization of 6.58 billion ringgit. Autocount.com made an impressive debut on the ACE market, opening at 1 ringgit 9 cents against its IPO price of 33 cents a share. That's a premium of 76 cents or 230.3% over its reference price. It ended the day at 75 cents for a market value of 412.88 million ringgit. Autocount develops and distributes financial management software that includes accounting, point of sale and payroll. Autocount's debut premium places it third among this year's best IPO performers on Bursa Malaysia, behind Opstar, which opened at a premium of 285.71%, and TT Vision Holdings at 276.47%. The company has yet to announce a dividend policy, but its managing director, Chu Yanti, has said the initial focus would be on its expansion. Cash would also be reserved for advertising and promotional costs. In a press conference following the listing, Chu said Autocount has begun its localization and surveying of offices in several ASEAN countries, which will include the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam and Indonesia. Bestari Jaya says 92 problematic private housing projects in Malaysia with an estimated total GDV of 5 billion ringgit involving 6,700 units were restored in the first quarter of this year. Akmal Nasrullah Muhammad Nasir, who is the Deputy Local Government Development Minister, said 80 out of the 92 projects have received the Certificate of Completion and Compliance. The other 12 have returned to their construction schedule. Akmal Nasrullah said the ministry identified 657 problematic projects as of end March, of which 435 were categorized as sick projects, 112 as abandoned, and 110 as delayed. The 435 sick projects accounted for 13.8% of the total 3,153 licensed private housing projects, though the minister said the figure is dynamic since the extension of time for some projects is expiring and more are being added to the list.